for the comedy of Helen, it is funny. The more I'm like weirdly like Erica calls me a meerkat because I'm always like, but I think it's really funny to play in to that height difference.
Very excited about True Lies, iconic movie, and now this awesome series that's coming. What was, Steve, for you? I think a lot of people want to say, like, oh, what were the challenges of adapting? What was most exciting to you about taking about that movie and making a whole brand new narrative out of it?
Yeah, great question. You know, obviously growing up with Conan, Commando, Terminator, these were, yeah, I mean, if you grew up in that time, obviously he was an iconic action star, and that was really exciting. Getting to do all my stunts, except like going through glass because they don't want me to be all cut up. So they're like, I'll do that. Also, by the way, do you know that they use real glass? Because everybody thinks it's sugar glass and it's not. It's real glass.
Through a window, it's real glass.
I absolutely
real
thought it was sugar glass.
Yeah. So I didn't know it either because that much sugar glass will collapse on itself. It's not strong enough. So they have to use glass. And what they do is they explode it right before. So as you go through, they explode it. So it's all, tempered, and they go through it. Our stunt doubles in the pilot, they went through the window. You saw it, right? So
I have not. I haven't seen the full pilot yet. No,
but there's a whole fight scene. Helen, we got to go. Blah blah blah. Fight the guys. Shoot through the window. Jump through the window. Those stunt guys, when they got up, they were covered in blood. And dripping out of their arm, like dripping off their pinky, just like a flow of blood, because there were cuts all over their body. That is really impressive. That's what excited me. The other part that excited me is, and I don't mean this is like an intro that I think kind of like leads to insincerity, but it's very sincere. Is I was really excited to work with Ginger, because when I met her in the reading, when I had to read Helen, she came in and improv'd all this stuff, and it was so easy and fluid, and she's funny and she's good and she's sweet. And I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then as I got to know her on the pilot, I was like, oh, you're rad. You're like, not only are you really good, but you're super funny and you're kind and you're sweet. So she didn't bring all the baggage that a lot of actors can bring, because being on camera, you got to have a little bit of an ego. You got to have a little bit of self-awareness, and to put that off. Well, some of those eccentricities that come with that are sometimes a lot to deal with. Ginger had none of that. Her worst moments are some of the best moments of others. So I was really excited with that. And we supported each other, and we went through it, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but we did it.
Ginger, one of the questions that I had thought to ask you was, about going from She-Hulk to this, and like the CGI on that and all that stuff, and Tatiana wearing that suit and having to like look up a lot. And then it dawned on me, I was like, well, Steve's like 6'5". So you're probably about looking exactly like you were that whole previous shoot.
It's so funny. Well, first of all, I'm lucky that I went from Tatiana to Steve, because they're both, I've been like so lucky, they're both so rad, and they're both so fun to work with. So I was just like lucky and then lucky again. But I'm 5'3". I feel like everyone on this show is 6'5". Steve's 6'5". Omar's 6'5". Mike looks like he's not tall, but he's a good like 6'1", 6'2". And for the comedy of Helen, it is funny. The more I'm like weirdly like Erica calls me a meerkat because I'm always like, but I think it's really funny to play in to that height difference. So sometimes I would request to be in flats because I just wanted her to be so like, you know, fish out of water and like, look at all these giant people talking to me. And I would bring that up. I was like, wait, this is no different than when I did She-Hulk. I'm going to end up having some sort of like neck issue. Like I'm constantly craning, but like, yeah, him, Steve and Omar are giants. And so it's truly not that different, except now I actually get to look at a person instead of like a little bobblehead type thing. You know?
Did you have to do like training, like fight training and things like that for this? Because I know that in that show there's not really a lot of action for your character, but in this show a lot more action for your character.
Yeah, I mean, I think I should have done a lot of it. I should have paid for fight training and all the things that I could get frustrated about. But for this season, I'm lucky in that, well, Howey, you know, just comes with that skill set in spades. Like he's actually like, he's excellent at it. He's not just some like physical person that knows how to fight. Like, he's excellent at action. And for this season, you know, Helen is learning. So I'm mining a lot of comedy from her lack of knowledge in that department or over eagerness when she gets to do it, you know? But as we progress, you know, I need to have more of that, but I'm athletic. I can do some gymnastics still. And I was saying earlier that on the panel that I'm like stupidly brave. So I'll just do it. And I did do all of my stunts except for completely falling out of the helicopter, which I asked to do. And wise, I was not allowed to do it. And then when I saw it, I was glad that I didn't do it. I don't know how she's alive, Ileana. But yeah, I mean, like I said, a month before I was going to like parkour classes with like my little 14-year-old friend who was in that class and just trying to get in my body and be as strong as possible. And our stunt coordinator, Danielle Hargrave, is amazing. And my stunt girl, Linda, are amazing teachers. Like Howie's a good teacher too, with the rest of the cast. Like we all haven't had guns before and that type of stuff. And the rest of the cast looks great, very much in part because of Steve's knowledge in that area and wanting to help them look cool and look good and look real. And so when that stuff comes up, we have like this extra person to lean on, and that's Steve. And I'll always feel comfortable in a fight sequence because Linda's a good teacher too with modeling. Like they teach the way that I need to see it and then I can execute it. And Steve's a harsh critic when it comes to a lot of that. So as long as he saw it and it looks okay, I'm like, okay, let's move on. You know, like I trust him. I'm like, did that look dumb AF? And he's like, no.
Good sounding board.
Yeah.
I think our time's almost up. I want to ask one last question. I want to ask you guys about working with the fantastic Beverly D'Angelo. I saw that she's playing the director. There we go. Oh my gosh, she's so great, and I'm really excited to see her in the show and wanted to ask about working with her. Steve?
It was, you know, she's a legend. We were lucky to have her. She has, you know, that iconic voice. And you know, speaking of someone who is shorter in stature, but was one of the biggest giants among us. She came in and she loved the show. She loved us. We loved her. And it was, I don't think she was used enough, to be honest with you. I think that, yeah, she could have been in a lot more. She just added a credibility. And I think that bringing, you know, I don't know if this is a bad term, old Hollywood. It seems like it's a not thing, but it is, it's Hollywood of yesteryear, right? And it's so, I thought that it was such a good representative of the new show that is off of yesteryear Hollywood, which was the movie True Lies. She came in and I think raised the stakes for all of us. So I loved having her.
Yeah, she's wild. She's so fun and quirky and your buddy, and she's very supportive. I'm like, Beverly, like I like look up to her and she's like constantly like, how can I support you? And like all this stuff, like she'll send me all these texts. She's like, you know, she's a really fun buddy. In addition to casually dropping like, oh, I got to babysit the dog. And it's like Al Pacino's dog because that's her ex. So, you know, it's just like great. Like every story you're absorbing, you're like, okay, but who's the last name of the person she's talking about? You know what I mean? But she's just like, I sat down to start watching Violent Night the other day. And when I saw the pilot too, like it stood out to me so much. I'm like, Beverly, great. Like, I'm like, I feel like you see it so much on camera even more, because once you watch the final thing, you're like, wow, she's so special. And then I watched Violent Night and she's in the scene and I'm just like, wow, like she has so much like gravitas and presence and she's just like sticking it. And I don't think you even realize it when you're in a scene with her, you know, and then you watch it and you're like, bam, like she's so good. And she's beautiful and she's silly and she's smaller than me. She's tiny. Yeah.
Well, look, I'm very excited. That's very exciting to hear. I'm really looking forward to the pilot myself, and maybe we'll get more Beverly in season 2. I don't know if there's a tease there, but thank you guys very, very much. It's Wednesday, March 1st. Is that correct? That's when the series premieres. Wednesday, March 1st. Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ginger. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.